Piano bagi Arigo.
Câu đã bị chiến cao vào một pha mở cánh sai lầm đến từ đội hình bên phía Bảo Nam.
From all around the world to 2022 PUBG Mobile Global Championship League. My name is Contra, your host for the entirety of this event for this week itself, and we've gathered the best teams all around the world here, live in Kuala Lumpur, where all the action will be taking place. We've already watched
with DRS and what you saw in that last game is they're very much an edge team, right? And if you go back on the VODs, if you go back and watch Day 1 of Day 2, I don't expect you to do that, guys, unless you... I don't expect you to turbo PUBG Mobile fan, in which case, go for it.
Turbo Geek. That's what
Turbo Geek. A Turbo Geek fan, but honestly, if you looking back on those games as I do, as I am a Turbo nerd, you will see that DRS is going for a lot of these edge style plays. They don't often take the center, and I think this is where maybe the game plan has to change slightly for DRS, especially when they get the circle. They don't have to play that outer edge gameplay anymore. They can move further in towards the center, and I feel like they're a team with the chops on them, with players like Yante as well as Killer, that actually be able to take out and find themselves some of these big wins. You will, however, see that top 5 percentage being quite high because they're very often in towards those later parts of the game, but not always grabbing themselves those big wins.
S2G, they do manage to get a point back in hand, taking down one of the R8 players. Those are the only two teams who have lost a player so far. And it seems like S2G definitely made R8 work a lot harder for their elimination than they did on the vice versa. And why not? I mean, S2G, 3rd place, R8, 15th.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, you look at S2G and that top 5% once again, which I'd love to see one more time because it was a brilliant little graphic that we didn't get to see for a very long time. But you look at that and it's just a case of when they win big, they really do rake in those points. But if they don't, they just go home. And that is just the way that S2G is currently playing. We saw that yesterday with their 2 big chicken dinners back-to-back. And then I think it was the second place they were able to pick up on their Sandhawk versus Influence Kemen. Again, a very difficult team to contend with at the moment, right at the top of the lobby. But you look at that, and I think for S2G, they need to even out these averages, man, because they're becoming quite problematic for them. And again, it's those old habits that need to die, essentially, at this point in time, because they had such a strong start yesterday, heading centre, being a bit more patient with it, not going for these wild plays, and instead using that gun skill, using that team fight power that they have on their side to their advantage in the late game, because these games do go on for a long time now, up towards that 30-minute mark on Miramar as well as Erangel. So if they can stick around, they really are a powerhouse in those last 10 minutes of the game, but often they're making these little mistakes here and there in the first 20 minutes, which are leading to them not having the best position when they get towards that position at the end of the map. I mean, if you're coming off the back of that, I would say personally, as a team, you're feeling a little bit rough around the edges. You know, I would be a little bit upset with my teammates. So unless they have the most unreal maturity, I think this game might be one of those ones where it's a bit quiet in the beginning and they just try and play out for as long as possible. This is a team that, you know, is fairly safe right now in 8th place with 107 points. But again, things could be safer going to the next day. But you are now also starting to see these drop-offs in a big way, John. I mean, you mentioned it. But up to 160 points, Influence Kemen at 170. Massive drop-off down towards S2G at 128 points. Similarly, down towards where we have our survival stage bracket, 11th to 12th place, you know, 74 to 69, you got 5 points there, but then it drops off in a big way from 10 points down to MTech Storm, and then number 9 points down towards Mad Bulls in 14th place. So a little bit more difficult for like these last 3 teams in the lobby, 14th, 15th and 16th, to actually even jump up towards the survival stage. It will really take a massive day out of these teams to get them back and seen safe. And I think honestly, for me, it would just be Mad Bulls here that is the big question mark at the moment. The real in the lobby.
Real.
Yeah. Greek philosopher style.
Absolutely. I mean, they are trying to figure out what's going on. It should be, because it has not been ideal. As you say, bottom 5, this is not what you expect from a team like Mad Bulls, who were consistency in the European Championship. Rolling on it. This one, Foxtrot wants to get Rez out the blue, should be fine in zone 2. Rez the saviour.
Happy days. Circled as centre up down towards Chumacera. So a lot of this hillside down towards that south edge of Chumacera as well. LGD maybe looking to go for a similar win that they had on Miramar. I think it was day 1, I believe it was, towards the end of the day, or day 2. Where they were on top of the mountain, but I'm on the other side. That might be a play that they go for later on in the game, where it's kind of still uncertain whether it's going to lock in on that northern side of the circle or down towards the south. But we'll wait and see for that to pass. At the moment, LGD, after that last game, very happy with themselves. I think they've been on a consistent uptrend at the moment, which is great to see from a team that was very far down the rankings towards the beginning of this mini format tournament.
I think we're sort of in this. I love these middle parts of tournaments, right? Because there's so many teams that are definitely having that potential to get into the top 3 at this stage. I'm kind of looking at 3rd place all the way down to pretty much ninth for Nigma Galaxy, sat currently 27 points behind third place in ninth place. And that is a really tight bunch. That is a really tight peloton towards those middle of the tables. Obviously, you've got the streak out front runners from Influence Kevin and Buradam right now, but it is only halfway through this tournament, there and thereabouts. We've had one extra game, but there is definitely time for any of those teams in that positions 3rd through 9th to be able to make it. And I really find that nice and exciting in terms of the dynamics that brings to all of these engagements.
Absolutely, I think that you're looking at a lot of these teams who do have a chance to send themselves upwards. Again, this is only the second half, so there is still time to play around with, and there is 100% a possibility that Buradam, Influence Kemen both drop off the track just a little bit, in which case S2G might be able to sneak their way back in, but I doubt that. I think S2G is a team that is currently hanging on by the coattails of yesterday, essentially. But there are teams underneath them that have had some decent performances, seem to have some improvements going on, that could make their way into that top 3. Survival stage is where it's at, though, at the moment, and I think that when you're looking at that side of the match, there is many teams that would like to see themselves up towards that top 3. You want confidence going into that survival stage. I would say for Group Red, this is probably the most difficult time to be dropping into the survival stage. If you're in Group Yellow, for instance, you're in the survival stage. Next week, you're instantly then over towards that survival stage tournament. So you're hot off the heels of gameplay. For these teams, they are going to be getting a little bit cold in the meantime.
The Infinity rolling up on Dizzy, but they've been swung a doozy at them as Tarman reins on into the fight as well. They will be dispatched, but there is a high angle from a teammate to try and suppress the Infinity from going for these full flushes. Chicken is on in as well, but he gets cooked out of the engagement. Mela and Newsy active for the Infinity right now. Got Tuddy bleeding out. Logan with a more replenished health bar, but MTech Storm going to give up the ghost on this fight.
Not really worth it for them at the moment, John. I mean, with the one player knocked and only one player now remaining, it's going to be a bit difficult for them. Tizzy also out. Might want to go for a little bit more, but the Infinity seems to be in a really good spot. It'd be difficult to find anything. They have an idea where this player is as well. Soko heading further down towards that southwest side does open up these things when it comes to playing on that high ground. This is to the south of this engagement, in fact. There's a lot of open ground. It's hilly, there's a lot of ditches here. It's rolling valleys. Weird places to finish this game, honestly. Just purely, there's so many different variables that can happen this map. And also, there's not a huge amount of priority compounds, and you won't find those out until maybe zone 4 or 5.
Box under pressure with the Bigatron line of fire. It seems like Bigatron have been fairly solid at maintaining positions towards the edges of these circles. It looks like they've really found their feet in that sort of aspect over these last couple of games. That's the impression that I've got from them. When we've seen them fairly consistently as a unit together in the late game. They do go down together sometimes, but I feel like that's why we are seeing them towards the top.
Sure, I think when you look at BTR, they're certainly having fun with it still. I mean, Luxie playing some cool little greedy plays here and there. But again, it'd feel like a much more competent team overall. What I do like is they're doing something similar to what DRS maybe need to work on, which is a case of they play edge when edge is available to them. And if center is available to them, they'll take that center position. I think that just comes with experience throughout the years of PUBG Mobile that they've played. They're very quickly adapting to this type of style of map, type of lobby. Next Soga heads up towards that northern side. Massive amount of high ground towards the middle of this one.
A lot of teams going to be impactful on this fight. Nigma Galaxy losing free Commodity there. Probably on quite a difficult angle to hold. I mean, yeah, you're just going to get peppered away, Team K. So taking Nigma Galaxy out of the mix. And remember, this is the Nigma Galaxy that finished in, what was it, 2nd place after day 1. They have really had a downward trend that has been picked up by teams like LGD and by Bigatron. Seems like that as well. A lovely nade over the top from Break to find Jen Foster. BTR will lose one of their players. Not ideal, especially after I said that they didn't do that much.
I mean, Jen Foster's usually the one to go down first anyway, considering he plays so up close and personal. He certainly plays a dangerous game for himself, and I think BTR were hoping to see if they can get an initial pick-off and then catch the players they came out to go for the res. In this case, though, BTR just has to make a mad dash to a position in the circle that might give them some more benefit towards the late game, but this is over completely open ground. Looks like one of the vehicle's wheels got popped out, in which case DRS can continue to take some shots their way. Similarly, so can Box, and this is most likely where BTR will have to remain for a fair amount of the oncoming circles.
DRS again, sweeping out this east side. Bigatron moved down the hill. Central for the Infinity. On the left-hand side of the road, or the west side of the road. As normally known. But around, suffering, unfortunately, against this engagement with Team Queso. At the bottom of the tables, they've had a little bit of an impact here. First of all, Bigma Galaxy, and now moving their attention over towards Buraram. Tiger is still active though, and you can never count him out. When you back him in a corner, certainly fierce. Bigatron, shots sent their way from Box, from across the way from DRS. They are really out in the open here, and it's a difficult move they've tried to make. And it has kind of crumbling down at this stage. Misery, last standing for the squad.
I mean, if DRS is playing their cards right and they see how this one's unfolding and they know that BTR is that team, they could easily have allowed Box to get into that position without taking shots so they can eliminate BTR, who are currently in front of them. Mad Bulls, they lose effect. Now, Monkey has to be consistently good with his nades. He usually is, finds at least one of them. This might be time for Mad Bulls to at least find something in this game. This is an isolated engagement from them. So if they can't win this one out, you're looking, things are going to get slightly dicey. That's a good nade over the top. Teak sent backwards. They will have to bring effect back into the fight, though.
Come on, Mad Bulls, show us what you're made of. We've been waiting all tournament. 15th place is unbecoming. Run around the edge of the smoke. The backup from 6 not going to be able to find that sight line. Oh, the lineup was good. Look at that. Titan with the good spread. Skills' last player standing. Hang on a minute. He's brought effect back into the fold. The heal does come through. 2 players down for Mad Bulls. Only the 1 for Titan. So 3 players up and on the mound. They're playing close. Mad Bulls might be able to look at one another. If effect can get a shot on the side if they can win their ones, but they will not be able to do it. And again, the Mad Bulls just fall flat. Down in 16th place now.
Not a single shot found there either onto any of them. I mean, Skills, it's depressing to watch because this is not the Mad Bulls that I'm used to. It feels like someone else is playing in their shoes over the last 3 days. Honestly, I would say at this point, and sadly as well to Mad Bull fans around the world, that I don't think that by tomorrow they'll be in the survival stage. I think this could just be a case of one of our most exciting upcomers in PMGC being left right at the gate.
There was a moment there where Sandstorm was head in hands. Alright, we're at the bottom of the tables. But they managed to pick up 2 eliminations. And they did jump ahead of Mad Bulls, so he's alright for now. He's wiping the sweat off the brow. He goes again on this one. 2 players alive for R8 on the north side. They're currently trapped between LGD and the remnants of S2G. It might rhyme, but it is not going to be pleasant on the ears for R8. I'm sure those folks will be ringing out fairly soon. Aegon XI8 playing in that central position after they managed to mount the top of the hill there. Everybody's going to be looking their way, though.
It's a really interesting terrain for the rest of the game now because you have all these teams up towards that northeast having to cross the road. You can see it there in front of you. This causes problems for many players. I8 might be able to hold out DRS. They consistently are playing this edge playstyle. I think this is where it makes sense considering they weren't able to immediately get over to this side of the circle so quickly. They will have to now contend with Team Queso as well as I8 on the top side. Titans have spotted out the players from R8, but the shots are coming back, and that's from Hamzy G from S2G, in fact.
North side, spotted out. That's quite the distance there. That's about that's almost a 400-meter shot. That very nice. To be able to tap that one away. LGD seeing the top of that hill. This big bunker that they're currently sharing with R8. this ridge line that's sort of isolating it away from a lot of those teams playing near the roadside. LGD want to play on this north.
Nade's a bit short, but the Molotov is good. That'll be the remainder of R8 now down. CCC hitting the flames. Beautiful stuff. Delta scarily close to Screams, in fact.
Ooh. Rattles off a couple shots for Reyes from Team Queso. Scream will get fallen in response. Delta, with rules up the top down, wants to have a little bit of a maneuver to try and keep them in this. Papi Potro very, very much split, leaving Reyes pretty much alone here. We'll be able to control some of the sight lines, but Titans are looking out this way. DRS are moving in to put the pressure on. They want this res. They should be able to stay up as 4 once they get it. And this south side is looking to be there. The Titans might have something to say about it, but in the meantime, it's 4 rivals clashing with bots over on the north side. They haven't even crossed the road yet. And this hurdle is once more needing to be cleared. A 2v1 right now between the squads, and 4 rivals heavily suffering, but so are Box as well. Trisma at the back, last standing for the squad. 1 player alive, 4 rivals. Pui close and up to the vehicle. Bullets ringing through. A smoke there wants to bring Break back into the box. A play as 2 from here on out, but teammates are bleeding out fast, and the Infinity might even be looking for a position on the alternate side of the road. They drop a vehicle there to give them some cover for later.
I mean, they would love to get... LGD would love to have got into that engagement. Iana tries to move up with the DBS, can't get quite close enough to make anything happen. And Papi Potro has been playing this backstop for so long, but DRS have been holding him out the entire time with some very good awareness on their part. It was coming crumbling down slightly for DRS as soon as they got that high ground removed from them by Reyes, but other than that, no, it was not meant to be. 4 rivals step up towards Trismate. No medical supplies on board. Can he make it happen? Has to pull out the second weapon, and that's it. Trismate, clutch player from Box, able to take out the final player of 4 rivals, but it will be a nade to finishing it off. But 8 limbs, still happy with that.
Really, really happy with that for Box. You'll take those, you certainly will. Shots over towards S2G, they only had 2 left, they're down to 1. Hamzy G against the Infinity will be felled as well. A nice result. The Infinity have been playing in this central compound for a long, long time. 6 eliminations to show for it, 3 players are alive, but now they're on the edge of the circle, and LGD might have the inside track.
I mean, LGD have been, again, very slow, very cautious, playing this 2-2. S2G were able to take down one of their players, but they quickly were able to get their feet planted in, stabilize just a little bit, but they have to deal with Titans now, who also have some control over on this side. Very open ground in front of them, a couple of rocks to play around with, but AXA, with this fantastic angle down towards them from the high ground, it will be difficult to dislodge him from this position. Again, what we have to look at here for LGD is the amount of space that they have to cover in the next 7 minutes. It is going to be difficult for them. What they would ideally like would be a northwest shift on the circle. Not really anyone in this circle has the most dominant position. It will be down to how each team plays out their rotate and how this next circle operates.
Got XIA putting nades up to the north towards the Infinity. That's beautiful from Logan. From downtown, lands it, fades Ghost, and another one.
That is actually nasty.
Oh, that was a Molotov. Okay, I thought that was another nade. I thought that was going to be a 1-2 punch. Don't even need to see it. Smoke blooming out wide, giving a little bit of cover for a route in for the Infinity to sweep down towards the south. It seems like that's what they want to go for. They're going to say playing in those foothills. DRS on the backside of that mound to their left. Titan 2-2 split right now on the west side. LGD trying to control from the north.
You've got to be proud of the Infinity. The amount of times they got into the late game so far from what was a horrific start of the day on day 1. All the way into day 2, in fact. They started getting some big wins, which is really important for their scoreline. And for the Infinity, who have taken first places across the board this year, it really would be a massive shame for them to go out here in Group Red in the first week.
Titan moving up and over the hill, getting those sightlines and establishing a little bit more control over towards DRS, towards the Infinity as well, and LGD, who are just plinking away here. Aegon XA on the outside of the circle, trying to move forwards but cut short by DRS on their maneuvers. Killer playing forwards and up the hill. And I think we're going to be down to LGD, DRS and Titan in a matter of moments.
Circle doesn't really favour anyone here, and LGD is still able to play from this little lip at the moment. MVM sent over that side to ensure that Titans don't get the outside track on them. Looks like they're trying to rotate behind, but MVM was able to put a stop to that. They have vehicles, they have some cover to play around with. Suki has to hit those shots over towards the Infinity. Immediately backs off. 5 nades as well, so we'll be able to maybe stop these players from moving in. But now, again, it's Titans who have always been this big problem for LGD throughout. Set up the vehicle, they have high ground over the top of them. Can move further in. This is one of the small compounds that has been remaining in the circle for a long while. No one's been really able to touch it because getting up to it would require you to be open towards these sight lines. But at this point in the game, I think Titans can be quite comfortable that this side of the map is cleared out. We have just teams on the north, west, east, south. It's the full compass.
To me, it feels like either Titans or DRS. Taking a look at the lay of the land, that's who I'm backing. I'm backing that south side rather than the north here. Aegon XIA feels like they're a little bit trapped. LGD, they have that ridge line to crest, and against so many sight lines, it's going to be brutal. There's a little bit more cover ahead of DRS, and Titan have the compound.
Do worry slightly for a lot of these teams. Again, another circle comes in, centers up, everyone has to move inwards. LGD were happy with their position on the northern side, still provided them some cover. As you can see, this is just the basin that everyone will be heading into soon. It's going to be full combat. Titans have to leave their compound, but will try to do as much damage as possible before vacating, pulling out the sledgehammer, tearing down the walls here.
Aegon XIA, the only team with 3 left. And it looks like they're trying to hedge their bets. Split themselves off to cover. They're not really going to be able to claim a lot of sight lines here. Instead, they're just got to try and keep their heads down. Valuable tire pop coming through from YZ. But he's backing off. They're not going aggressive. They're repositioning and they're getting ready their move. They're making ready their march into this next circle.
CCC taking shots up towards DRS. IA also chiming in. Few the players going down, and that will delay them massively. So important for DRS to get out, but making the first move, they were the ones that made the sound, and everyone was waiting underneath the rocks, ready to strike.
DRS with 2 now. LGD pick off a Titan. With 4 of themselves alive, they now have the major advantage in this circle. Nobody else at full force with Puncher down. At least Titan at 3. LGD nearly take a knockover towards CCC, but do manage to squeak that away behind the smoke. Get out of danger, get out of dodge. DRS on 2, playing in the blue zone, and look at that, 2-3 teams now taking shots out their way. It's difficult, they didn't manage to make it to the cover in front of them. They haven't been able to play around those trees or get to the ridge lines ahead. And Aegon XIA, they have been keeping their nose clean.
This is just wonderful map knowledge coming through from LGD, and now it's time to just try and send central as possible for LGD. With the vehicles they're able to hold on to, with the cover that they set up, they'll be able to outlast a lot of these teams coming out from the blue. i8 will finish off the final members of the RS. Titans, though, spot at least one of those players. In the meantime, they've got troubles of their own as one player is not trying to bring it back to the feet, but that will delay them quite a bit. Oh, that's a great nade, and CCC just has to throw one more, but only one more in the pocket, has to make it count.
We'll be able to find both of them as it bursts in the air. Slivers of HP found, and he picks up the 7-10 split. Cut down on the back as Teak rains hell down from the top. Oh, fall to the crosshairs. Teak absolutely furious about that. Will not let it lie, and LGD now turn the tables. They're down to 1. Wisehead cannot afford to be burnt away here. Forced out on the res. The zone will be closing, but they have a central position. Gets 1 res through. Teak not so lucky. Trying to get cut down out in the open on the cross. Needed from Ghost. Aegon XIA looking to spoil the day for LGD, but they are sticking these reses. 2 players alive for Titan, 2 for Aegon XIA. LGD recuperating.
2 or 3 here. It will all matter about the nades. Maybe UZM's nade was better placed over towards LGD.
There it is.
As YZZ Elite picks up 1. That's both of them down. 3v2, John.
LGD with a chance for the back-to-back here, Blank, to put themselves in a great stead for the tournament tables. They got XA8 with a blinder of a game as well. 4 eliminations so far, guaranteed second place. 3 players alive for LGD, though. They know exactly what they're up against. They know what they've got in the pocket. 11, and they're going to rack up that big 12 elimination chicken dinner for a back-to-back victory. They dominate on Erangel, they follow it up and dominate on Miramar. The decisions are on point.
An intelligent team here, John, honestly. Surprising us here in day 3, looking very, very strong at the moment. And you've got to love some of these plays that they make. Again, it's just generally very strong map knowledge, and being able to use this 2-2 effectively is what is really giving them a lot of this ground to be able to cover. Yes, they take some of this unfavorable low ground at the beginning of the I think it's zone 6 compared to Titans who are on that top side, but towards that later part of the game it actually favors them massively because there's still those little reaches to play around, a few little defilays set up by the rocks, and they're able to get all their vehicles into position, which ultimately give them the defense that they required in those final moments to finish off every other team. Again though, CCC with those nades, what an incredible result with that double burster. Looked pretty bad though, with Teak obviously being one of the most incredible members coming through from Titans, finding almost a triple knock on towards them. But again, holding on to a lot of their utility at important moments, John.
That burst would not have worked if you hadn't learned of that first nade, and the wherewithal to go for that as well. Really, really solid. They open up that ground. LGD dominate on Miramar. Great set of final circles for them. And it just felt fluid for them. I mean, they felt like they might have been a little bit trapped, but getting over that ridgeline, using the ground to their advantage, making it work. That's what LGD does, and that's what hopefully they'll continue to do.
Maxman, LGD, what's going on? Back-to-back chicken dinners, 27 points. They're your boy LGD. You get to call him LG.
I called them GD. Yeah, I don't know. LGD short enough. But yes, my boys LGD, they're doing great. Fine. I knew it was going to take some time because, once again, it is their first time playing outside of their region, but now they're feeling comfortable, now they're feeling good, and they're pulling the 10,000 IQ rotations every single game so far today. I'm stoked, Jason. I'm loving it, and I'm telling you, it's just the start. LGD, they're starting to heat up, and the lobby better be shivering in fear because they're not going to stop.
Well, I mean, you have yet to put them on your teams to watch today, so maybe that has something to do with it, or maybe you're going to start to put them on. Could they be the first team to go back to back to back? We almost saw S2G do it yesterday.
I'm still not going to pick them. I'm staying far away from that. I don't want any trouble, guys. Okay? I don't want anything to deal with that.
Do you mind if I pick them then?
Sure, go for it. Knock yourself out.
Well, I know Max is going to pick them. He's going to pick Ari, of course. Make sure you guys get your predictions in over in the YouTube chat as well for the upcoming matchup. Who you think is going to win? Now, you can probably go with LGD. I think they've generally been number 2 when we looked at our predictions, and DRS number 1. Yet DRS hasn't gotten that chicken dinner done for themselves. But either way, we are seeing again a big change. Different teams stepping up on day 3 that we had on day 2, that we had on day 1. I8 is also a team we need to talk about here just a little bit as we jump into our overall standings, because they were in 8th place. They've had a good first match where they finished 3rd overall. They've had another good match here, finishing 2nd. They're slowly making their way up here in 7th place now.
Look at that Sandstorm,
Yeah.
pushing himself up in 7th position. I mean, we said it, silent team, they got himself some of the top damage in the first 2 days of play, and here got himself, what was it, Jason? I think a 3rd place in the first game and now a 2nd place. They're constantly getting these points in the bank. Currently, they're very safe when it comes to making it to the survival stage, but here, there's a chance if they keep these results coming in, they could go potentially in top 3.
Yeah, and you're talking about IA, who started off day 1 with only 28 points. They struggled a little bit, and then they started slowly getting themselves into those better positions, started getting a little bit more eliminations, and now they're in a much better position. Now they're getting themselves closer and closer to that top 3 spot, just because we had S2G. They managed to get like a couple of points throughout this game, but they were still eliminated early enough, and the same thing can be said for the side of Buriram, and of course our leaders Influence Chemin. So I guess towards the top, it's just heating up more and more as we progress further into these games.
I am a little bit worried though that S2G is pulling Big Galaxy today. They have not looked great at the moment. We're going to talk a little bit more though about this match and obviously get you ready for our 3rd match today, which will be on Sandhawk. But before then, we have to head to a short little break, so see you guys in a few. And we're back here, ladies and gentlemen, as we'll be diving into our 3rd match of the day, which will be on Sandhawk shortly. But again, we've seen every single day now things changing, teams stepping up, some teams unfortunately falling by the side. Influence Chemin here, Sandstorm, still not performing too well so far today. But again, it's only 2 out of 6 matches. But I am worried, this trend they're starting to lean towards. I know you can't be consistent every match, but this is starting to be not a good sign.
Yeah, especially with us having so many teams stepping up right now, and now the competition is getting tougher and tougher for a lot of the teams at the top and also a lot of teams at the bottom, because now even the mark to get to top 11 or between 4 to 11 to qualify for the survival stage is getting increasingly difficult.
Yeah, very increasingly difficult. I mean, obviously every team would be more than happy to get top 3 straight to PMGC and avoid the whole survival stage that you basically, as I think Blank and John were talking about, you have a couple of weeks off until you jump into that. If you're into the finals right away, you can obviously just kind of prepare and really try to get your homework done and figure out what you can do for these teams. Before I advance through further into the show though, again, a big shout out here to Sony with the Xperia 1.4 and the Xperia Stream, made in collaboration with professional esports players. You can also get 90 Hz on the Xperia Stream with its total cooling system and multiple ports for intensive gameplay and streaming. Intensive gameplay is pretty much what we've had today, especially when it's come to these final zones. I mean, the circles have been a little bit rough in the first match, and match 2 they were alright. But as we look into our Sandhawk coming up, let's take a look back at the same time about our top performers here in our last match.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I'm a little bit. I feel like I'm a little bit too hyped, okay, but there's many reasons. After seeing what I saw in PL, it's finally coming over to PMGC, but Chungsi and Suki have just been able to do so many great things. They're just a fragging duo from this team, and not even just him, you have YZZZ also that's been getting some great results in, but I would have to say, Sandstorm, Team Kesso, a little bit too silent to my taste, especially seeing what they could do with a shotgun, especially with Ayala in the first 2 days, but I'd like to see a little bit of a step up from Team Kesso, because it's still at the bottom. It's still a chance for them to make it top 11 right now to go to the survival stage, but if they remain in this kind of like average results every single game, I think this is might be one of the teams that's not going to make the cut.
See, here's the thing. I feel like when it comes to Team Queso, they're very similar in the way that they're playing with, I guess, to R8. The rotations are just a little bit faster than that of R8's, but still the result is being the same. And what we saw in the last game was a fight between Queso, Nigma Galaxy, and Influence Chemin, and they all kind of just took each other out on the south side of the map. But I'm looking towards Sandhawk and Influence Chemin.
they were able to get lucky in yesterday's game because of the assist. I believe one of the players, third-partied. I believe the team that got second place, I believe it was S2G, gave them an opportunity to get the chicken dinner. So this was one of their weakest maps. Are they gonna be able to bring it back on it this time, or what are they gonna do?
Don't know. Obviously, I think a lot of it depends on where the zones are going to be finishing off. I'm kind of hoping for a northwestern island finish because we've had mainland, I think, every single time so far. And I know there's one zone in particular, Maxman, that we can think of that we see more often than none. But give me some trifecta plays. Like, give me some trifecta zones because I want to see how the teams adapt to it, right? We already saw on match one with the big shift towards military island. It forced teams to adapt, rotate, swim across, choose which bridge they want to go on. But if a trifecta finish happens here, I think that's where you're going to get a real true testament of who the best teams here are.
100%. That's why I almost wanted to pick BTR for one of my teams to watch. I didn't pick them this time around because I haven't seen too much from them, and especially we have not seen a proper circle where we can make full usage of the trifecta, but BTR dropped in that position, and it just offers you a plethora of game opportunities throughout these matches on Sanhok. So I would like to see BTR potentially go a little bit further in these games, maybe get a chicken dinner on it. I think it's one of the maps where BTR can shine because of that drop.
Well, let's take a look at you guys' teams to watch here. We've got Nigma, we got S2G, we got Box Gaming, Maxman. Why Box Gaming?
Because Trisme's been popping off, man. We saw it last match. She's been doing so well. I'm a little bit surprised we're not seeing more from Break. I remember Break in the past 1 to 2 years. He's been a really big standout player for the team. I think Trisme is kind of carrying the team at this point in time. I want to see a step up around him. If it's Trisme and the rest of Box performing, I think they can actually close off games. So I want to see Trisme have the team behind him.
Okay, so Strong, what about you and your picks here?
Influence Chairman, we've had 2 games, that's it. Those are going to be the bad games for them, so I believe now they're going to be able to come back. Nigma Galaxy, they surprised us on Sanhok in day 1. I think they're able to surprise us again throughout day 3. And when it comes to Buriram, you're talking about a team that was, I said it before, they're very, very silent, they're very, very deadly, and they've been slowly creeping up behind Influence Chairman. So I think this game might be the game to change that number 1 spot in the leaderboard.
Well, I'm actually glad you brought up Buriram, actually, because we were talking in the last match where I was mentioning to you guys, Thailand has some insanely strong teams. I mean, you think of them, you think of Infinity, you think of Vampire Esports, you think of FaZe Clan. There's so many strong competitors that, for me, it's great to see that we have a new Thai team stepping up here, showing that they have what it takes to get into the finals and represent their country.
Yeah, especially after PMWI, right? I think that if there's any other region outside of China that can get a world championship title to themselves, I think Thailand has a pretty big shot this year, so I'm happy to see if that's going to work out for them.
Okay, well, obviously we're going to see how they're going to do here in this next match because the finals are still a little bit away. So back over to John and Blake, though, to take you into Sanhok.
Yeah, we're going to go into the Sanhok game of the day, our dose of the jungle. Blank. You okay? You're escaping the light there?
I came back into the light really quickly, yeah. It's very sunny in the UK apparently, which is not ideal. For me, in terms of lighting, it's ideal in terms of how hot it is in the house, which is great news for me because it's been very cold. But not going to be cold, it's going to be very, very humid over on Sanhok as we head over towards this one. Very shortly, LGD coming off the back of a back-to-back, which is very impressive overall, John. I was astonished to see that one come through, but again, they just seem to get a lot of control going in that late game and have played this very slow early game at the moment, which is nice to see. It's nice to see a team actually be able to pull that one off, John.
Yeah, it's been nice, as you said, to have that sort of strategy come to pass. And especially with LGD's performance in that last game, being able to bump them up to top 3, a really, really good result in terms of their overalls. They finished day 1 in the bottom 5, Blaine. So this is really, really great.
Yeah, this is one hell of a comeback that we're watching unfold on our screens at the moment. It's not something you typically expect. But again, like the guys are saying on the desk, I mean, Buradam as well as Influence Kemin, 170 points. I mean, Influence Kemin have been sitting around this points gap for quite a while now. So teams are starting to catch up a little bit, which is making things a little bit more volatile towards that from Page. I mean, all the way down to 7th place with Aegon XIA. 123 to 138. It's not the biggest jump in the world to hit towards that 3rd place. As we all know, that is the very, very important position to be hitting at this point in time to get direct invite towards that grand finals. not having to worry about the survival stage. Especially with us having 8 teams fielded from every single group, you know, it's going to be more difficult when you come to the survival stage, with it being a very short format as well, John. You're going to be playing against several different teams, and it's never going to be the same one lobby, in which case you're always worried about new rotations. And I think that does have a little bit more randomness involved when you get to that survival stage. It's great to have a second chance, however, it's one of those things where you'd rather not be stuck in that scenario.
No, I mean, it's always good to have that buffer, that confidence as well, that you know you can frag out against multiple regions, and that you've kind of downloaded a little bit of their meta. And you can sit and you can really just pay attention to the top teams and who you think is going to be going through. It's also going to afford you a lot of time to go over those VODs and to watch the survival stage as well, to see your competitors in action. S2G, R8, once again clashing on the south side of Paradise Resort. Everyone seems to be armed and certainly fairly dangerous. Silas, low, Vector in hand, SK10. If he'd have peeked out just a moment either side of that, might have had a tough time of it. Very, very low as well. A nade in through the window, catches prestigious heals, but only clips them. It's the final shots, the spray from Ray Z that connects in the end, and SK10 last standing for R8. S2G, a punchy early game. Can they finish this one out? Can they close it down?
I mean,
ID7, no, you can't get res. That's an enemy. Oh, he figured it out. I think he knows.
It's good damage that comes through, but it's not quite enough. And with S2G with an outpost on this top side, I don't think it's likely that SK Ton's getting away with this one, especially with the Infinity and MTech Storm also waiting in the wings. No matter what happens here, you're always going to be leaving this into the hands of another team. For SK Ton, I think leaving like this with just a level 1 helmet, no HP on board, even if the team just tickles you, it's over. We are going to get a remake here, which I imagine that S2G is going to be massively frustrated with after what was an incredible start to their match there. See, teams are pretty upset about this as well. But again, you know, Sandhog is one of those games, one of those maps where, you know, these remakes will be the worst thing to happen for them. But, you know, you go again. At least S2G know that R8 is going to continue to drop on them. It's not changing. It's never changed from scrims. It's never changed from day to day either. But yeah, we'll be getting back into the game very, very shortly, or at least as soon as we can. Figure this one out as we go.
Just getting everyone loaded up properly. Seems like everyone is just rejoining the lobbies at the moment. But again, off the back of the back-to-back chicken dinner, LGD careening up the tables. I'm looking at teams, as you were saying, S2G needed this boost of confidence, and maybe that will give it to them. Maybe they'll be able to carry that flair over. Into their next drop in Sandhawk, which is likely also going to be a hot drop against RA. They know they can win the fight. They've done it literally just now, so hopefully they can carry that momentum forwards. Enigma Galaxy, who have still continued on their downward trend, kind of dropping out of that group to vie for a third place finish, kind of is only the front page from here on out, unless something brilliant happens from a little bit lower down the tables to come through and change the tune. But Bigatron 122 can launch up as LGD in third, only on 138. That is a 16-point difference between those teams, so really, really minimal. I think we're loading on into the lobby. You see, very, very chill, just resetting. They're ready to go again. But the Mad Bulls have had a pretty tough time of it, despite having a chicken dinner, 16th place.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those days or one of those weeks, let's say, for the guys from Mad Bulls, not able to get anything on board. And again, like you're saying, this is the team that like embodies consistency, and the fact they were not able to get this thing running, get the plane off the ground. It's a real struggle bus, and it is a massive shame considering how good of a team that we know they can be. Again, 16th place, that's not a fluke. Something is drastically going wrong here for the team, and they're unable to find their way in towards the survival stage or even the grand final ticket, which is very much out of the question at this point in time. Enigma Galaxy, honestly, this is one thing I just want to talk about because it's a little bit surprising, right? Is that first day finishing with 86 points, John. And now we're in day 3, halfway through, 103 points. So really hardly anything found for this team in terms of points over the last couple of days. It's very disappointing if you are Enigma Galaxy. The Infinity, on the other hand, all the way down towards the bottom of the lobby, they're catching up, 86 points. And again, this could be a case where we start to see the leaderboard even out a little bit because Influence came in not rocketing out of their mind the moment when Budodan being that new big contender to the lobby. Happy days.
For some of the teams, anyway. That's been pretty good news for those launch ups to the tables. I think we're getting on board with Sandhawk now. Mounting up once again. Let's take a look at what the jungle has in store for us today.
We already found out, but we'll find out again as the plane path heads in from the north side all the way down towards the south, and Bantai, RA, S2G both dropping in nice and early. MTech Storm, the Infinity on the outer edges, the Infinity off towards that northern side, and MTech Storm down towards the south. Both teams getting in as fast as possible, identifying that there are RA players alongside with Hamzy G at the moment. You know, if this goes topsy-turvy and it goes R8's way, I mean, S2G are going to be a couple of mad players, I'll tell you that way. Mad Bulls down towards that south side, looking to hit up towards Painan as per usual. But already, that's a double for S2G, and this was easy pickings.
Oh, it's traded off. Prestige as well. Has a micro Uzi against Silas with nothing, but there is a challenge. Okay, 3 players from R8 down, and Bandar last to fall. This time around, it's actually a better result, Blank. They get the fight done early, they take all 4 eliminations as well.
It actually is a better result. Never mind, that remake was specifically made for S2G to dominate even harder versus R8 there.
Oh, goodness me. Hamzy already on 200 damage on the game. The Infinity, I mean, this is now their full strategy. Just try and guard out the fight, but because it's finished so fast, it's just a full-on, I guess, invade into the Paradise Resort territory. Circle pops out northwest and keeps a lot of that northwest island in it. It'd be good to see a finish out that way, Black. We haven't seen it so far.
We've not, no, and I think this could be very much over towards that northwest side if the circle shifts correctly on the next couple of zones. I don't think it's out of the question that we see a northwest finish on the circle. LGD down towards Bantai, obviously our front runners from today, doing absolutely marvellous work so far. Got a bit of a way to go. Enigma Galaxy also towards Sami. They will have to move for the first time in a while, John, actually. They went out in 11th place yesterday on Sandhawk, which was a bit of a better result for them, but it was down towards Sami, which was slightly questionable as to how quickly they did exit the game. And you really do hope that Enigma Galaxy can pull their socks up, really, because they're a good team. They are a good team, and if there's any fans of them, you know they're a good team. You've watched them throughout the year, and you know that Ralph, Freak, Modi, Lord, all together for a long time. This team has a huge amount of synergy, and I think that when you have so many 16 places in a row, it can hurt the mentality, John. It absolutely can. I know that I've had bad days that have turned into more bad days, and that is just how it works sometimes. But you've got to get back on the grind, get back on the treadmill, and start running. It's the only way to do it. You've got to get yourself out that slump, and in a tournament like PMGC, really is not the time to be getting down bad almost. You've got to get back up on your feet and get running.
I mean, that is what it takes to be a pro player, right? It's... As the great Rocky Balboa once said, ow. Yeah, you've got to try and live with that.
Sorry. What was that?
That's right.
I don't think that's what. I don't think that's what he said at all.
He said that, definitely. I checked.
Okay. Right, fair play. I think it was something to do getting hit hard, you hit back harder or something along those lines.
No, I'm pretty sure it's what I said.
Okay, yeah, sure. I mean, he did say ow, and then he got right back on the horse and got galloping away, so that is technically true from you. Looking at our total limbs, though, across the board, MineMP leading the pack with 30 eliminations so far. This guy has been an absolute monster within Group Red at the moment. Teak also with 23. Really do like this player from Titans. Does pull his team out of a lot of bad spots. I mean, he kind of is like the animal that if you corner too much, will just start fragging out of his mind. Specifically in that moment on Miramar, you saw where LGD was pressuring him a little bit too much, in which case, Teak went full Hulk mode and just started blasting.
Federal for Influence Kemen, close by to Titan. We're looking for their performances today. Currently still in first place, sure, but it's not as comfy as it once was. 6 points between them and Buradam, who've been fairly consistent. Buradam currently dropping over, split around. One player towards Docks, one player over towards Cave, 3 players over towards Docks. And they are on the hunt. They are catching up. I mean, you can see how close that is. LGD, if they're able to keep this performance up, of course they will jet up and join them in that front pack. But still, quite the gap to breach.
Still possible, though. I think with a whole half a day and a whole day ahead of you as well, there's a chance here. There's a chance here for some of these teams to break in towards it. A lot of players and a lot of these teams moving up towards that northwest side at the moment. Bootcamp has a loot crate in it. See if anyone wants to pick that one up. MTech Storm heading down that way. Anyway, S2G, after their dominant performance over in Paris Assault, have remained there. We'll loot this up as much as possible. With the Infinity spotting no stragglers, as well as MTech Storm, they've both left those positions outside of Paris Resort, realising that there is quite the terrifying beast within the resort itself, and not willing to go try and get a spa day for their own. Oh my goodness me! Okay,
it's fine. It didn't even take any damage. It was totally on purpose.
I mean, YZZ does all his own stunts out here, which is fair.
That is true. When in doubt, stunt it. Federal still hiding behind the same rock and getting a lot of info on the Titan players, but I feel like there's only so much info you can get other than they're all there.
Yeah. I mean, that is fair enough. I mean, that is where you want to generally be at this point in time. BTR up towards the mountainside at the moment, holding as a 2-1-1. Respectable, making sure there's no one pushing through from Camp Alpha. Most teams surprisingly pushing in from that eastern side. No one's headed towards Ruins as Titans have already left that position. Mad Bulls, on the other hand, take up a position that is widely known as HVP's spot over in PMGC and in the championships of Western Europe. They'll hold here for the time being and then maybe think about moving across the other side. They've been harried by Titans a fair few times, and Skills's is going to go for a little bit of a wrap in the vehicle, see if he can spot any players on that side and return back to the fold here with the information that he gathered.
See if they can use that effectively, use that information, that scouting, which is what we said we wanted to see more from quite a few teams, Blank.
I think with the way the circles are going at the moment, the teams are having to adjust the pace at which they play the game a lot at the moment, from a lot of their respective regions to now. So we're heading up towards that northern side. Now this could be quite comfortably up towards that northwest mountain, with the circles centering up a lot more often. It's unlikely to centre up on the bridge, but I have seen weirder things here in PUBG Mobile, so that could be a case. In which case the bank sides become very important to control. And with the Infinity already being there, this is going to have to be something that they'll be hugely aware of. Influence Kemen, one from Titans. That's a good pick-off.
I mean, finally Federal's able to do something from this spot. He's been waiting for long enough, and Titan give that move, and as soon as Influence Kemen are in position to go for these team shots, he steps up and he operates to perfection. 2 players from Titans will be going down here. Puncher hiding behind the tree, sure, but you're not going to be get up from there. Mad Bulls taking this opportunity to get across as well, as Influence Kemen's attention is turned over towards Titan. They will move in towards the duo's position in the compound underneath the cliff, in the shadow of it. 6 taking a 1v2. So is ISO as well. But Monkey will be able to deal with that. Now they can turn their attention just to 6. Is dethroned from the top. Federal, though, has a little bit of a something to say about that. Will fall back to the compound, however, and allow the rest of Influence Kevin to come in for the regroup.
Yeah, it's a decent side swipe from Federal, but not quite quick enough on the trigger. The rest of the team, they're not alongside with him. Mad Bulls, though, take a very good rotate. It's a heads-up rotate as well. They spot the fight, and they see that Titans are under pressure. They zoom on over the top side with information that was dropped back by from Skillsers, and that is more or less what we'd like to see from the guys from Mad Bulls. They are underneath the cliff at the moment, which provides them pretty decent safety from BTR, and it's a rotation you have to make early for this exact reasoning, is that if you're going to be rotating over towards this building, you're more than likely going to get shot at by BTR or anyone that's on top of the mountain itself.
Ooh, a nice nade on the roller. Tizzy actually finds both of them. We've seen Tizzy be fairly effective at handling swift rock-ups and get overwhelmed a couple of times for being a little bit out of position. But this time around it seems to have worked out for MTech Storm. Enigma Galaxy in the meantime, losing 3. All down there. Lord on the other side of the bridge, unlikely to be able to get anyone back up here. YZ for LGD wants to stick the res. We're in zone 2, as long as he has a bandage, and the first aid should just fine to move north afterwards.
Yeah, and I mean, these circles are hitting rather hard. Looks like Suki's going to go and try and confirm some of these knocks, some of these eliminations, pick up any kind of medical supplies he can, especially knowing that this is a team coming through from Sami. There's a lot of medical loot down on that side, first aid kits, stims, whatever you might need in that situation. In the meantime, it will be MTech Storm taking out the remaining players in this area.
They do have Box pretty close by on the southwest side, though. So if they can get themselves back up to fighting form, then maybe they'll be able to hold that one out as well. But you don't want to stick around too long. It's likely that this position will be moved away from anyway. So you don't want to try and hold on to it too firmly.
Budoram rocking up behind LGD on that southern coast towards Tambang, and now LGD find themselves in a tricky spot with MVM already going down here, and the circle closing quite rapidly. Both these teams have to make a decision, and quickly. DRS also, you can see them flying through on that side. Like I said, this is the circle we expected to see head towards that northwest island. I think LGD might just be done for here. It's too many teams taking engagement with them. Chunxi over towards on that side from LGD, looking to send a grenade across. Will find some damage over towards Kengzo, and the knock is there.
It's like Budoram are being drawn a little bit. Or LGD, they lose 2 players, but those trades are fairly solid with the blue zone already starting to tick fairly hard. There's not a lot of time left on this engagement flank, and both of these teams are really going to suffer for it. Bigatron, in the meantime, on their mountaintop split, they have a really strong spot. We talked about it a little bit earlier on. Now they can start to just keep that pressure going and exert so much control.
MVM down, but have vehicles to play around with as well, so should be able to get out of this area. Mad Bulls made a pretty heavy rotate up towards that northern side. It's one I respect as well from the outer edges of Hatin. Puri looking to take down the final player of the Infinity, and will find it, but look at these players. They are extremely distraught and in a bad spot, but with no players really around them other than S2G, they should be able to get all players back on the feet. Back to Mad Bulls though, on the outer skirts of Hatin. Really good play, honestly. But losing 2 players on the approach, not sure what happened on that side, and I'd love to find out if some of the analysts actually know what occurred over there. Only thing I can think of is Lord taking 2 players on the rotate, which would be super unfortunate. But Mad Bulls might still be able to get a decent game from this position. They're out of reach of a lot of other teams that have to pass through one another first.
Hey. Players alive on the swivel, looking out for 4 rivals. They try and control that northern bridge. We'll pick up that 5th elimination to up their count, bolster their points. Can they keep it going?
Yeah, this is certainly a case of S2G's go big or go home strategy. And this looks like one of those games that are going for the full home run here, with 4 players alive crossing this bridge into pretty open zone as well. Box might be the only other team that will be able to challenge it, and they still have a far way to go. They're coming out from the circle. Chunxi though waits for that final player from Budoram, will pick up that knock as well. has to make his way onto the circle itself. It's a long journey ahead of him.
Quite a way to go, and without the opportunity to go for that heel strat with the circle changes, it's going to curtail it a little bit. Will be difficult. Influence Kemen moving into the south side, losing 1 or 2 players there, down to 2 underneath Bigatron. 4 players on just 3 teams actually now. Blank. It's Bigatron. I think it was. Oh goodness me! I've just lost the list. But yeah, Bigatron certainly, absolutely, completely lost the plot. The circle shifts out to the northeast side, and S2G will be just holding a sliver of it. There it is. S2G were one of the teams with 4 players alive, and Box. I mean, they started with 4, but they're getting absolutely torn apart now as they try and move to the coast side.
Yeah, again, a really nice play from S2G. Waiting in these compounds for any teams that might be stragglers coming through from that eastern side. Not a lot of teams would expect this either, honestly. With how quick the circle's coming in, they wouldn't expect teams to be still coming out from the blue, but S2G, they play their cards right, they decide to wait this one out, make sure there's absolutely no one that can backstab them and clear out the entirety of this eastern side of the circle. It's a smart move, and one I really do respect, because I think far too many times teams get a little bit too overconfident, which is one of S2G's biggest problems, by the way. And instead, they wait around and make sure there's no players over here in the first place.
Still 7 eliminations already on the game. It's nice to get a confirmed consistent result here. Even if you go down now, it's still going to be enough to sort of keep up with the general pack that they're playing around. Unless LGD can blast out their mind or DRS can really put it down. The big team here is Bigatron, who are going to have to leave that top of the mountain. Can they stay up as 4, and can they keep that power?
Honestly, I think for Bigatron, there's actually a pretty simple rotational path for them ahead of them, heading over towards where Team Queso are currently playing on the eastern side. They've only got Papi Potro there at the moment. Federal has been spotted by Misery. It's just a little bit more damage that they need to take inwards. Luxie will have to head on back and pop one of his first aid kits. It would be a disaster if he goes down now. He's one of the more important players for BTR at the moment. Misery finds Law, and now Federal should go down to the play zone.
Certainly spotted completely. Yeah, Luxie not managing to land any of the shots there. That's disastrous from Luxie, actually. Needs to be hitting those shots. Goes down to Federal. This is another game where we've seen Luxie just make a little bit of a misstep here. I mean, we saw it earlier. You've got to wonder what's going on from this player.
Yeah, certainly dropped the ball on that one. It is unfortunate. I think that's just a case of getting caught in a position where you're like, I can't find the shoot button. I know that sounds ridiculous, but again, everyone makes mistakes, even at the highest level. And when you're trying to shuffle along and you can't quite get a position where, you know, the barrel is straight so you can take shots of it, these things happen. Again, these are the type of things that happen, though, that can lose you the chicken dinner, John. You're 100% right. Jen Foster goes down to the blue zone itself, and so does Zuxi. 2 Mad Balls currently on the side of Hatin, and this is where this position becomes very, very strong. Now, only a few teams remaining with many players alive. I think Team Queso has probably got the most at the moment with 3 players. S2G more than likely going to lose a lot on their approach as Box are holding the bridge down unless they can make one hell of a battering ram maneuver. Lord also in a tricky position, all in his lonesome. You know, this could be a case of Mad Balls or Buradam taking position in there. Though 1v2 definitely possible for him, and this is the first time we've seen Enigma Galaxy get this far, kind of on an unexpected push as well.
CC playing up top, managed to get up there on the vehicle. Mad Balls potentially looking to take it away. There's an MG3 in that box. Could be very useful for a solo player. I mean, you need that larger magazine and that power to instantly just blast people away if you want to stay up, because you need those 1v1 trades to go your way every time.
Monkey making sure there's no one coming out through the blue on that side. They don't know it's safe, but it's good to clear that angle out, especially when they're right on the edge of the circle down towards that southwest side. This gives them a lot of safety, right, and a lot of peace of mind. Chunksy, definitely one of the biggest problems for them at the moment. We'll certainly know if there's players down here who have heard the footsteps. S2G able to make their way across with Box unfortunately swimming in the water. They were sent down there earlier. Now S2G coming in with 4 players. Great news for them. But Team Queso should have a side swipe onto this, and it's fairly open ground out from the bridge. So teams should be able to take shots towards them. Mad Balls right now, though, this is full survival mode. This is a case of trying to get as many points as possible from every single game to jump up, because their position right now, 52 to 81. It's a 30-point barrier, and with 4 rivals still in the game as well, they're going to be getting points this game. It's going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tough for Mad Balls to make it happen, but this may be the start here.
With only their 2 players, I mean, Monkey's in that trench in the middle of the mountain, in the valley, and they'll have to move. 4 rivals, Lone Ranger, Voki, in the roadside compound as well. Can they control Team Queso from the side? I mean, from the south, it's potentially a strong position here. They can move and try and work these cliff tops and get a lot of sightlines over towards the rest of the lobby.
Yeah, I think Team Queso currently has the best position within the game at the moment, up on that high ground, a great spot to play. Chunksy might be one of the disaster causes for that team, though, if he gets a backstab onto them.
Monkey cooking the nade over towards CC. Won't be able to find it. Reposition is there. Molotov to slow things down, but the second one's on the money. Mad Balls open with 2. 5 eliminations found now. 6th place guaranteed. LGD will be denied now for fully the triple. Only 2 chicken dinners in the first 3 games. Thank you very much. We're around those still. Going on the north side. S2G as well. 8 eliminations. Playing with 4 from the northeast edge. Can they move in here against Team Queso's Overlook?
I mean, this is a perfect opportunity for Mad Balls at the moment, because this is a 2v2 with Screams on the underside as well. This makes it a case where a 3v2 not possible for them. S2G take a massive hammering, and this is what I assumed would happen for S2G. It's very hard to make your way through this position. Now, Mad Balls are trying to dismount a couple of these players. Screams still going strong on the underside with that DMR.
Zerich nade takes a little bit of damage off Ayala. About half the HP bar. Monkey trying to gather some information about that western flank. But the circle will move them away. Team Queso looking to hold on to the cliff top. Away from Mad Balls. Can S2G move any further with Just Kelsey going? Lord falls for Enigma Galaxy. Which leaves them out in 5th. Team Queso still 3 players alive and top spot.
It might even be a smart manoeuvre for Mad Balls. They've very limited time to do it now. I don't think they can anymore. Would be to just actually move down the cliff face, because I don't know how likely it is to end on top of this cliff face in the first place. Monkey, though, spotted by My Name P out in the blue. Zerich will have to find these shots over towards him.
Mad Balls desperately need this game, and it is going to come down to Zerich. Team Queso close enough to throw some nades in. Can they do the final bits of damage? My Name P will go down. Get felled there. Quattro Ayala want to mount up and go for the run. Zerich close range, looks for one, will find it. Tries to hot swap out, but will not be able to get the second. Papi Potro handles business. Ayala Reservoir up the top, but they might just turn their attention to Tiger instead. Scream is alive on the downturn, and Papi Potro up top. But Buriram, they're not a team you can count out. Neither is Tiger a player you can do to either.
I mean, it's going to be impossible to bring that player on top side. They have to move down, so Ayala goes out, and Tiger actually has a huge opportunity in this game to finish it out. Looks for one more of these knocks.
And he's going to the blue zone. Scream has to break out. Tiger has got plenty of HP to play with, but he wants more. Scream posted up, waiting for the peak, pre-firing in as well, waiting for the shot to come in, but Tiger's cooking the nade. He wants to pop it over towards the tree as soon as Scream makes it there. Excellent timing on that nade, and it's perfectly placed. Buriram snatch it away from Team Queso top the mountain. And what a way to turn it around. Buriram absolutely on fire with Tiger's play there.
I mean, through LGD, harassed by DRS, moving all the way past Camp Alpha, harried by the blue zone the entire way, with dogs barking at their backs. Head to the backside of Hattin, outside of sight of Mad Balls. and then through the blue zone. The fact that Tiger's able to get there with My Name P basically playing the sacrificial play on that side, taking all the information and all the eyes off of him. What an unbelievable win coming through from Buradam. You know, that might even place them ahead of Influence Kevin at this point in time.
That's a really strong result. 6 eliminations from Tiger. Definitely a performance to be proud of. I think you might be right. They were only 6 points behind Influence Kemet at the start of this game, and that should be enough to do it. They will tip themselves over the finish line there to the top spot after a slobber knocker of a performance.
Tiger there with 6 elims, 4 knockouts as well. This guy really played out his mind this match. And again, even having 6 grenades at the end, a lot of these teams putting massive stock into having the amount of utility they have at the end game to ensure that they don't really have to go for these big aggressive plays, these risky plays. He just sits inside the shack, sends the nade over towards a tree. It's the only bit of cover that Scream's going to position himself on. It's unfortunate for Mad Bulls because Team Queso make that rotate over towards that top side to get a better angle on Tiger. Just as Mad Bulls are there, it slows both of those players down, so Team Queso can't even go for that win. But Mad Bulls is a better game. It is a better game.
Certainly was an improvement from the bottom of the table team that we've been seeing so far. Good news, but Budaram wrest control of the top of the tables with a blinder over chicken dinner to finish it out on Sandhawk.
Well, was just talking about them, saying that I love to see other teams from Thailand step up and be an extremely strong region, and Buram United Esports get themselves the chicken dinner with 24 points on top of it. If I'm not mistaken, Sandstorm, this should be them taking first place